odd reunion.
I know. Tell me
Feels like
about it.
yesterday.
Yeah.
2019.
Looks like you're about to sing to us.
Yeah.
Serenade
Byron,
us. Serenade us, Byron.
What's that?
Serenade us.
your mic.
Oh yeah, I know. Oh yeah. No, I started a well, I'm kind of in the process of starting a podcast, so I thought I'd, get all the
Yeah.
idea and all that. But can you hear me okay? I don't know if it's like.
Perfect. I was just hoping you'd serenade us with that guitar in the back as well.
Oh yeah, no, I will do. That's for later, mate. That's for later.
Yeah.
Don't you worry.
I'm really excited for this one. So, hi everyone. I'll let Thusha do the formal introduction, but thank you guys both for being here. Really excited to talk all things mental health, mindfulness, running a business, and all that. So.
Yeah. So welcome, guys. Today we have Mohammed and Byron with us today. So Byron is the co-founder of Grey Matter, which is a fashion brand and a really inspiring community that exists to start conversations around mental health. They also donate 25% of their profits to mental health charities like Mind and Calm. Mohammed is also the co-founder of Ramadan Legacy, which is a brand where spirituality meets productivity. He's also running his startup while he's doing a full-time job, so that's amazing. And he's also the incoming incubator manager at the Nationwide Building Society. So thank you guys so much for joining us. So the first question is going to go to Byron. So can you tell us a little bit about what it's like running a brand that encourages conversations around mental health?
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, absolutely. So it's quite interesting, I think. Like starting this brand, it's been such a journey since we started. I think we started 2-3 years ago now. So and we've met such like a variety of people because of it. I think there's been so many people that have like messaged us and contacted us that have almost like just thanked us for what we're doing. And that in itself is like extremely rewarding. I think above all else, like that's really what the purpose of the brand is to really just start the conversation. I think that's what mental health needs more of. It needs more education, more support, and just everyone to be able to just like form together and just talk. I think there's so much almost pressure on people not speaking out and not vocalizing actually how they're feeling. So we almost just wanted to kind of like stand as a bit of a symbol for that, I suppose, and kind of give people a reason to talk. Because I think that's extremely important. I think talking in itself is a form of therapy. So it's something that we definitely tried to prioritize for sure.
Yeah. And actually, you guys have a lot of open conversations about mental health, and people who might not be open to speaking up still have examples to kind of look at and still have people to kind of relate to. So I think that's, amazing about what you do. Okay, not a quick question, but this goes out to both of you, so you guys kind of answer them. But basically, it's about, getting people to open up. For me personally, I like still struggle till this day, and like I know, the phrase is like, it's okay not to be okay, or it's easier said than done. So you can easily say that, but taking those kind of steps to do that is quite hard. Like Thusha, I'm sure you've seen firsthand, me trying to articulate whatever I'm feeling is just like the most difficult thing in the world to do. And like, relationships, anything, I just hate that kind of confrontation. I don't think I've ever had like a one-on-one looking someone in the eye being like, this is how I feel, or this is what is going on. Even with Thusha, I sent her like a huge email. So I guess my question for you guys is, what would you say is kind of baby steps, not for people like me, but people who might struggle to take, I guess, that first step of opening up or, starting conversations?
Yeah, absolutely. So I find I'm actually quite similar to you, which is ironic considering I run a brand which is all about speaking out. But the reason why we do what we do, and a lot of people that we speak to are comfortable speaking out and they're comfortable talking about it, and a lot of people that aren't yet comfortable about speaking out and like talking about it, they find comfort in other people talking about it. So they find that they actually relate to certain people that are talking about certain struggles or whatever it may be. And I think above all else, like we just need to humanize it. We need to humanize that we all do have like certain struggles to some respect, and it's normal, like it's not something something to be ashamed of. It's not something to hide. It's not weakness. So yeah, I think above all else, like if you can find almost hope and help in someone else and through someone else's like struggles, like that personally has really helped me. Another thing as well is journaling. Like I always go on about it, but I just journal a lot because they like that in itself like is my therapy. Like, so no one's ever really going to read my journal, but it helps me kind of like process thoughts. I tend to overthink a lot, so it helps me process a lot of thoughts, think about it a lot more logically. And yeah, like if you're not quite comfortable or not yet ready to talk about it with, talk about certain issues with someone else, just writing it down and getting it out of your own head like can help so much. So yeah,
100%. Just to build on that, Byron, is absolutely in love with journaling. We're all about journaling at Rome Dynasty, but with my, just to preface what I was about to say with my own journey. So I kind of leaving the corporate world, I just had this assumption that going into startup will be like starting my own thing will be plain sailing, just completely easy, and it was the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life, and it was so hard on me mentally. Really led to like a dark space, and I kind of, me coming out of that was this whole journey of learning about myself, mental health, learning about things like breath work, things like mindfulness, and not limiting that to meditation, but doing things that you love, connecting with nature and all that. So I kind of came out, and I just to mention about what Byron mentioned about resonating with people. Sometimes meditation doesn't resonate with people, right? So that really hit me when I one of the key things that I learned from this journey was obviously mindfulness and the importance of mental health. I became a mindfulness kind of like workshop lead for pre-accelerators and incubators, right? Just randomly, it was like, okay, tell us what is your hack, and from there kind of like this whole thing developed. And I was struck by coming out of my bubble, assuming everyone's into mindfulness, man, let's just do this workshop. I led a workshop for diverse at a diverse incubator, whereby the majority were from a Black, Asian, minority ethnic background, and I think half of the audience were like, mate, this is not for me. Like I remember some of them just sleeping something through the mindfulness meditation. Some like one of the guys, AJ, big up AJ, he's doing amazing, but he just said to me, mate, I was just thinking about pink giraffes right during that. And another person was like, no, this doesn't resonate with me because of my spiritual upbringing. For me, I've got a certain method. So it's kind of realizing, so what was the breakthrough was in the one-to-one after, like sitting down with these individuals and chatting to them, saying, look, mate, I've come from a similar background to you. It was very difficult for me to get into this whole mindfulness stuff, but don't limit mindfulness to meditation. There's so many ways you can be present in the moment, as Byron mentioned, like just starting baby steps, just acknowledging how you feel through just maybe writing how you feel down, speaking to a friend, and just being a bit more vulnerable. It could be just like a very small thing, a small tweak in your narrative, a small like thing that you do, just implementing into your routine, like just a mindful walk. So yeah, not limiting it to an app, even though there's some amazing apps out there. Doing something whereby you feel like you're aligning yourself to your true self, and you're in that moment basically. So yeah, don't limit it, I feel, to the standard mindfulness practices, and do something that you love basically. And it could be as small as just going for a little walk and being mindful about that.
Definitely. I actually, carrying on from what you were just saying, that's actually something I've been doing a lot recently, in that I feel like last year I very much lost sense of who I was, like not who I was, but like I kind of lost I suppose lost my way a little bit in terms of like who I was, like my values and everything else, and what Malik was just saying about like just being like true to yourself and all that kind of stuff. Like that's, I've been doing a lot of work in that space recently with myself, and almost like I still kind of a work in progress, I suppose, in a way, but I find what has really helped is almost outlining what your values are as a person. So like, as human beings, we all have different values, like we all value different things. And if you write down and you're just brutally honest with yourself, like, if it is like admiration from other people, write that down, don't be afraid of that. but like that is maybe a value, you know. If it's like being a good person, write that down. If it's exercise, write that down. Like whatever it is, like write it down in your values. And almost if you have like a list of your values, you then, in a way, if shit's not going well, like you can go back to your values. So it's like, okay, like, you know, maybe what's not aligned in my life right now, you know, what's not in line with my values, and like, yeah, being able to go back to that, almost having that anchor, I think helps a lot. And I think that's why a lot of people like lose sense of themselves, like I did last year, because I kind of lost sense of what my values were, if that makes sense.
Mate, just want to pitch in one small thing. I know, mate, absolute gold, but there's this one product. So bestself.co, right? They do this little product. It's core values deck. Exactly what Byron was saying.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so it's sick. So you've got like in front of you like loads of values. It could be self-worth, it could be kind of, you know, education, family, you know, and then you pick out your 3 top values. So I would recommend the best self core values deck, or just getting a list of values, and then selecting those top ones for you. Absolute gold.
What was it called?
The best self core values deck.
Okay.
Or you could do that. You could mimic the same process by just searching values on, you know, and having a Google Doc in front of you and just, you know, picking out your top 3. And I think that's absolutely gold from man like Byron.
Mate, I love that. Yeah, I'll have to check that out, definitely.
Similar as well, but we'll talk about the kind of mental health and work later. I feel like I've got so much to say about that as well. But going back to the journaling, I have about 9 journals, and they're so depressing. Like every time I flip through them, they're always me just like ranting about things or being sad or whatever. And every time I flip through, I feel like there are about 10 happy pages, and it's probably like my sister getting married and all of that. But writing things down does help you feel just so much better. And you like, you bed, I write things down, and then I wake up and fresh as a fruit.
Definitely. I think, yeah, no, definitely. I'm actually quite similar. Like most of my journal is normally quite depressing stuff, but at the same time, normally what I do when I journal is I write down my problem and then I kind of like search for a solution. So by the end of my journal entry, normally I've come up with kind of like how I'm going to move forward. And also what I found, I've been doing it for about 4 years now. What I found is if there's a time where I feel stuck or I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to get over this, you know, like this problem seems massive, you know, I don't really know how I'm going to get around it, whatever. Like I kind of read back up through and like there's so many patterns of times when I was like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to get over this. And then next time I'm like, yeah, I got over that. And then like, you know, and it's like, it's almost like a good like confidence boost that, you know, you can get over things. And sometimes you do forget that, you know, sometimes you, in life, like we work at such a fast pace and, you know, we live in this on-demand world, where like we forget like all the little things that we have done, you know, and we need to sometimes just take a step back and just give yourself a pat on the back, you know, and like just be happy for how far you've come. And and that's why I do it. I find it's a good way to just kind of like look back through and it's like self-reflect.
But this is a chance for me to do a shameless plug of Ramzan Legacy, but essentially like, so we've got journals, but one thing that we realize, so it's a journal for this, what we see as like a spiritual, like 1 month of spirituality, which is Ramadan, right? Like you get to see your best self, you're doing all this like philanthropy and all of that. Like how can we make the best of that through journaling? But now like we're on a transition now from going away from like that seasonality to something more year round. And one thing that we're really inspired, I was really inspired by, is a 5-minute journal. That is awesome. I think it was Intelligent Change. Tim Ferriss and a lot of other people kind of are great protagonists of this like snapshot of your day. And I've prototyped, like this is a prototype of my own version. I just got this printed out. It's quite cheap actually to get your own, make your own journal online to just, you know, replicate the pages. Byron said he's got his own way of like problem solving. I think there's another a version which I've come across, which is like a lean experimentation of your day. So it acknowledges that your routine changes, but each and every day you're setting your day like an experiment. What went well? In a way, you're gamifying your day so that you're not too harsh on yourself. You're just trying to tweak it and realize like you're almost like this equanimous scientist that's just like trying to figure out yourself. And that's so beautiful in my mind's eye. It's like I'm human, I'm so, you know, neuroplasticity, everything comes to mind. Like when I think about this kind of like scientists going about their day and trying to get better and better, it's such a beautiful thing. I think that's, you know, a lot of people, a lot of philosophers say that this is our purpose, is to just better ourselves and allow, you know, that beautifies life. But without going into philosophy too much, I think just like practically speaking, like the 5-minute journal, like for me, like it's just really powerful. As Byron mentioned, you get to pat yourself on the back at the end of the day. So you can try this out at home. It's like you don't need to purchase anything. Just it's 5 quick questions. Is like, I'm grateful for, list down, like that's, you know, Oprah Winfrey absolutely nailed it in her little kind of like 2-3 minute video on YouTube. She says like, this is the best way, scientifically proven, to start off your day. Just count your blessings, just try to count a few of them, and then you list down your top 3 priorities. And then you, like, you know, you can call it a mantra, you can call it some sort of you know, a belief of yourself, a self-narrative, just one statement that you'd like to be today. So that's your morning done in like 3 minutes. And then in the evening, just before you're about to retire for the day, what did I achieve today? Boom, straight away you're giving yourself that dopamine boost. You're setting yourself up for success. You're acknowledging all the good that you've done, and then you set your intention for tomorrow. What do I want to do tomorrow? And allow that to sink into your subconscious, and, you know, as you know, all that beautiful things that happen in your mind, just as about you're going into that theta wave state before you go to sleep. So yeah, man, journaling, got to try that.
Yeah, I feel like so I have this like leadership coach, and she basically, I went through this stage where, I mean, I'm still going through it, but Theta, I'm sure you remember, in January I was like at a very low point in terms of work, and it was just like physical stress as well, it wasn't just mental. And so she reached out to me, and then I ended up taking her course, and she made me take a step back and look at just everything, really, like what drives me, and like what kind of drains my energy during the day, and then what kind of, I guess, boost my energy during the day. So she told me to focus on those activities, and then after I've established what kind of boosts my energy, then I look at what drains it and how can I kind of tackle that. So I think once you understand how your mind works and where your motivation comes from, and like where you're losing, I guess, touch, then you can kind of go back and figure out how can I then, I guess, fix that, or how can I, you know, take baby steps to kind of improve that. And then she talks a lot about reminding yourself about what drives you. So, you know, when you're working on a business, like for 24 hours a day, whatever, you lose a kind of, I guess you just lose track of who you are, and you lose track of just like Byron said, your values. So being able to understand what drives you, whether it's helping people, you know, in need, or whether it's, you know, opening up more conversations or encouraging people, your customers, whatever it is, remind yourself what drives you, because then you remember where your passion is, and, you know, what you're working on, basically. So
Joey, I just wanted to give a shout out to Chevy Ruff. Absolute legend. So he shifted my perspective on this whole energy that you're talking about, right? Realizing that everything is you know, it's good energy, bad energy, and he talks about stress energy and harnessing stress energy, right? And kind of almost changing your narrative around it, and realizing that when you're setting yourself up for success, when you look at stress in a good way, that energy, you're trying to basically, he calls it dancing between stress and deep rest. And you're almost, so stress is a good thing. It allows us to, you know, you're putting yourself up in a gear. It is, you are letting out a lot of energy, but when you complement that with your deep rest, you're allowing to then reap the fruits of and benefit from that time and stress. But I don't want to go too deep into that, but I just wanted to plug Mr. Chevy Ruff. He's an absolute legend. He had he was on BBC, well-being specialist. He took people that were addicts and coming out of rehab and trained them up for the London Marathon, right? It's an absolute legend. Take a look at Chevy Ruff when you got a while.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
Sounds good.
Okay, I have a quick question for Byron. So basically, there's this debate about, you know, labels for mental illnesses, basically, all people suffering from mental health issues, and its potential to kind of stigmatize and both alienate individuals. So you can quickly fall into the kind of trap of, it's just a very like artificial kind of divide between being abnormal and normal when you have these issues. And I kind of want to understand what your, I guess, yeah, what your thoughts on that are really, and whether or not these labels, I guess, again, you know, divide between someone being abnormal and normal. Not that, you know, having issues is abnormal, but it's just like in society, it's kind of perceived that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, as I'm sure like everyone kind of knows, like it's a pretty known fact that 1 in 4 people struggle with their mental health each year. So when I like to think of it as, with mental health, similar to physical health. So if you ate junk food all day every day and you never worked out, your physical health would take its toll, right? Like you would be physically ill. And it's the same thing with mental health. Like if you consume junk values and you never really look after yourself, like you're then going to be mentally ill. There was a study, a guy called Johan Hari did a lot of work in this, and he went all around the world and he spoke to people with like anxiety and depression, and he noticed that there was 9 common cases of anxiety and depression. Seven of them weren't biological, so therefore 7 of them were because humans weren't meeting their basic human needs, and that's why they were becoming anxious or depressed. It wasn't because there was like a chemical imbalance, it was just because they were consuming maybe junk values, or their values weren't in line with actually who they were. And that's why they were feeling anxious, that's why they were feeling depressed and everything else. So when you think of it like that, it's a lot easier to understand that it's not a case of someone being normal or not normal. It's a case of someone being in their lane or not being in their lane. You know, like someone being true to themselves and like being like, you know, making sure they're fulfilling their needs or not fulfilling their needs. And I think, you know, that's a lot easier to say than done. Of course, you know, there's a lot of people that will feel anxious and depressed and be like, I don't know how to get to that bit. And you know, and that's obviously a journey in itself, and you know, it's a challenge in itself. But to kind of, I think above all else, like that's why I really want to remove the stigma, because it really can happen to anyone. You know, a big shift in anyone's life, you know, it could be the difference between someone being really mentally strong, never struggled, to falling into a deep depression all of a sudden. You know, from society looking from the outside in, like that person went from being normal to not normal, right? Like even though that person is still normal, like there's nothing wrong with them, it's just there's been a shift in their need, you know, shift in their life, and as a result, like their mental health has suffered. So I think that's why, like above all else, like we just need to be kind and empathetic towards anyone that is struggling, because that could be anyone. You know, like life could be going really well for some people right now, and in 5 years time they could be on their asses. So I think like we just need to, and vice versa, so we just need to be kind to everyone, we need to be supportive of everyone. And I think if we can do that, then I think statistics will reflect that. You know, like statistics at the moment are staggering, and really scary. And I think, so yeah, I think if we can just gather around and like actually help each other, and like and just be more supportive of like what people actually want to do, you know, and not judging people and all that kind of stuff, I think that's like a big part of it. So yeah, I think that would kind of be my answer to that in a roundabout way.
Mate, that's beautiful. Well, I just made loads of notes just there, like to take a look at. But there's one anecdote I wanted to just share from. So 2014 was my last year. I was working, 2014 to 16, I was working at Deloitte, right, as an auditor, and it just gets crazy sometimes. Like, so we've got a thing called busy season, right? So it's like literally like from 8 o'clock or like 7:30 to like 1 a.m. sometimes, working on depending on your client. And it got really, really difficult for me balancing that with also like chartered accounting exams. And I just hit a point, I was like, mate, this is way too much. And one day I just came across a page on the intranet at Deloitte, right? And it was regarding mental health champions. And in particular, one senior partner, who's formerly at a firm called Arthur Andersen. And, you know, he mentioned about his story. I thought, I need to meet this person. I sat down with him, learned his story, that he was, you know, one of the most senior partners, and suddenly, like, no explanation, he just switched off. He just couldn't hack it anymore. He was off for about I think a few months consecutively, trying to understand what has happened to him, and that led him down the path of learning about CBT. And he and I believe, oh my god, like he just walked me through basic CBT, and it felt like for the first time, wow, like my mental health is as important. And I realized what in 2015, like why it shouldn't be seen as anything different to a physical injury when you've been dealt something that's been a massive blow to you, or maybe there's no explanation, you're just not mentally well. You should seek the cure, and corporates, any kind of employers should always see it as the same thing, as in there shouldn't be a stigma around it. And I just remember it just felt like somebody just opened up a tap in my mind, right? Just like wow, like, okay, now I know I need to go and learn about myself, need to learn what caused this, and just try to heal, as opposed to just brush it under the carpet like I've been told, whether it's culturally or just previous jobs or like university or whatnot. So yeah, man, I just big shout out to the mental health champions in any company.
So important, so important, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, well, what would you say, like, I guess work wise? So obviously going back to running a business, super hard and mentally challenging. You need to be in the right mindset. You can have days where you wake up and you just don't want to do anything, or you have days where you wake up and you're like, mind my language, but what the fuck am I doing? So what would you suggest for people kind of going through that, and what would you say, how do you get through those bad or rough days?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I get that. I definitely get that. I still get that. I think to feel motivated all the time is a lie. No one is motivated all the time. And especially with lockdown, like I don't know about you guys, but lockdown's been fucking hard for me. Like, it's been like definitely a bit of a struggle. But something I find has really helped has been like just waking up, and I did it this morning, waking up, just going for a walk, like maybe listening to a podcast or listening to an audiobook or music, like whatever like help, like, I suppose, like unlocks your mind and like helps you kind of get you to a better place. Like just do that. And obviously the physical activity as well, like it's just good, like it helps, it obviously releases chemicals and and just makes you feel much better. So that's something I've been doing to kind of like just sort of get back to a certain place. Two
people that really inspired me about this like very topic, like when people mention, I don't feel like I want to wake up, just want to go maintain the comfort of my bed, which is almost like mental as well, almost like for some people it's like it's almost spiritual, because of the fact that it reminds you of home, it reminds you of the good times. And so two people I want to give a shout to: Mel Robbins, the 5-second rule, right? She was in the same position, didn't want to get up, didn't want to do anything, but she just remembered, I think the story was, she remembered, just what came to her mind was like the NASA rocket launching, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and she said, I'm gonna leap out my bed just like that flipping rocket. And in essence, you're overriding that internal Andy Warhol, that inner critic that's saying, oh, there's no point today, don't go out, that fear of failure. Basically, I think it, for me, like when I don't want to get out, it's essentially the fear of failure. If I don't get out, I'm not going to fail, am I? I mean, if I'm not going to go about my day today, there's zero chance of me failing. So I'm trying to minimize that, and that's kind of like on a subconscious level, and then it comes out as me just staying in my bed. And Mel Robbins, she just says 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that shit. And that's it. You're out. You've got out of your bed, step one, and then step by step, like Byron said, do something that's nice. Start, maybe with a coffee, whatever it is, apple cider vinegar in your water. And another person that really inspires me, like I just didn't realize how deep this person is because of how banterous he is. But the Gypsy King, Tyson Fury, absolute legend in terms of somebody that was chasing what you could see the peak of his peak of anything, like being the world champ, right? So what was really interesting, I didn't realize he actually knew that he was he's going towards his plateau. So when he was training for that fight, for that world title fight with Vitaly Klitschko, he knew that I'm going to be this, you know, what's after this, right? So he also felt like I knew he was going to win. What happened after that? He went into such a deep depression, put on so much fat, so much weight. He was, I think, unrecognizable, right? And what, you know, in essence, I would recommend definitely watching his, you know, there's a few podcasts he's been on to talk about this in detail. But in essence, I think that the, you know, in a succinct kind of like summary was two things, as Byron mentioned: working out or doing something that's physical, and having a routine, basically, right? So that routine that kicks in, and going beyond, again, Malik Byron with the gems today, but like going beyond motivation, realizing motivation is a myth, right? There's a book called The Motivation Myth. Motivation motivation comes from doing shit, right? Once you've done that shit, then you feel like, fuck yes, now, like, motivation comes from that. It's like when you do that, that's what leads to motivation. It's not the other way around. We've been told like you got to be pumped up to be able to do things, but no. Build a process in your life, start doing those small things, and then motivation will follow from that.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. I think quick wins and small wins, that's like, just, and I suppose in a way that's what, like, for me, going for a walk in the morning is, you know, like it's literally just going for a walk and just I said I'd do it, so I'm going to go and do it. And if I do it, then it's like, okay, great, now I'm out and now I'm walking about and now I'm, you know, maybe listening to an interesting podcast or listening to a book or whatever it is, and that's kind of like opening up my mind, and then I'm like feeling inspired, and then I'm like, okay, great, you know, and then the motivation stems from that. But like, coming out, I don't just like beam out of bed with motivation, you know. And I don't know, maybe there's a lot of people that are like that. I'm certainly not like that. Like, I love my bed, so, you know, if I had it my way. So I think, you know, almost having those things and just taking those small steps in the morning, you know, having like maybe a small routine to just help you get to that place, I think super important.
Yeah, that's so true and so helpful for me as well. It would be walking my dog, taking my dog out for a walk, whether it's in the morning or in the evening. I think it's, when you step out of the work environment that you're in, like, the whole day, I think it really just helps to get a breath of fresh air and just, you know, give your mind a break as well. I think taking a break is also super important when it comes to, trying to get back on track, I suppose.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think, you know, sort of carrying on from that as well, like, inspiration doesn't really come from sitting at a desk as well. And I think that's a huge lie. Like, I think, you know, you see these hustle porn stars that like sit there with their laptops and stuff, and they're like, you know, like, and they're like, oh yeah, work hard, you know, and it's like, yeah, but how can you feel inspired when you're just looking at a screen all day? Like, that's not how it works. I was watching a documentary actually, called Abstract. It's like a series, I don't know if you guys seen it on Netflix, and one of them was about the head shoe designer at Nike, and he doesn't spend that much time in the office. Like, he spends most of his time surfing, climbing, you know, doing all this stuff, because he's like, that's where I feel inspired. And then I come into the office and then I start drawing, and like, you know, and have like have all these ideas. And it's the same sort of thing. Like, we can't feel inspired, we can't feel motivated from just like sitting at a screen. We're human beings, like, we were made to move. So like, we need to, you know, get back to our, you know, human, like, human roots,
absolutely. Like, the concept of productive procrastination comes to mind, right? Is that basically what Google and like Nike, as you mentioned, they've optimized the workplace for this. So those water cooler moments, they've physically optimized those spaces where people talk and just chat, because that's where the magic happens, essentially. And also, like, realizing that you're basically reaping the fruits of your hard labor when you're allowing yourself to just do nothing, right? This Japanese philosophy I think I came across, which was the art of nothingness, whereby everything happens, right? Literally, those moments we've essentially snatched those. Our mobiles have now snatched those moments whereby before we were on the tube, we were able to just chill out, do whatever, and, you know, the creative sparks would come. But now we've just you know, as soon as we get up, instead of reaping the benefits of that theta wave, right, and thinkitating, as Tom Bilyeu mentions, right, is we just straight away we get into alarm mode. We're just switched on straight, what the notification saying, yes, instant gratification, dopamine hit, neurons firing and wiring. We're not allowing ourselves to get to that magic place where we used to, of as Byron mentioned beautifully.
Yeah, so true, man. So true.
That's true.
Yeah, creativity does fuel from when like your mind is taking a break. I remember Leho, basically we pivoted our whole business idea when I was like up in the sky on a plane going to Maldives. I sent the longest email until this day, probably the longest email, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
And then we just ended up with the whole business idea. And like, yeah, I do definitely think you're so right about the tube, actually, because I feel like most of the times when I'm on the tube, I'm like busy tapping away on my notes because I'm like, whoa, you know, suddenly all this. I never thought about that, but yeah, that's super interesting.
I guess when you reflect on your day and then you have a minute to think, when you're not like busy, you know, replying to emails and stuff, that's when all the creative ideas come through. So that's really interesting.
Definitely.
Thank you so much, guys. I'm gonna put Mohammed on the spot for a 1 minute mindfulness session, if that's okay.
Perfect. Let's do it. There's I'm not going to go into the whole like, you know, scripted mindfulness meditation, which I absolutely love. I can lead you. I can share one. It's from Mind Valley. It's called the 5-step. I think it's called the 6-step by Vishen Lakhani. Right, it's beautiful. If you want to connect to now and also envision your future and live that future right now, it's a really beautiful thing. Try that out. But essentially, there was two 1 minute mindfulness meditations that came to mind. One was like recommended by the NHS, which is like a 6. I guess it's basically box breathing. But I thought we'd do something different. This is called a 3x3 meditation, right? It's really, really good if you want to get into the zone prior to like an interview. You're feeling a bit of those pent up kind of like fight, flight, freeze, or fawn type of energy within you, and you just want to like shake it all out basically, and just kind of like come into the present moment of now. So 3x3, what we're going to do is we're going to, in your environment right now, coming out of that tunnel vision right now of this screen, just look around you, notice 3 objects, 3 easy to identify objects, but don't give them any labels. Just as an example, it could be your bottle. Don't call it food, don't call it Joey's bottle, don't call it Malik's phone or whatever. Identify 3 things and give them their names, like lamp, bottle, perfume, bottle, something, or a screen, right? So just take a moment. It could be even your window. Beautiful. Remember to look out. My optometrist said every 20 minutes have a 20-second look outside, right, to help your vision. So yeah, once you've noted, so I'm gonna pick 3 things. I'm gonna pick my phone, this random poster, and my lamp right over here, my desk lamp. So what we're going to do is we're going to identify the object. We're going to acknowledge it. And then once we've done that, we're going to take a breath in and out. And then we're going to go to the next object. That's a lamp. Breathe in and out. And then we're going to go to the third object and do the same thing. Does that make sense, right? So that's a quick way to get back into the zone. All right. So object 1, 2, 3 in front of you, right? Perfect. Okay. Yep. Object 1. We're going to take a look and identify what that is. That's there. Now breathe in and out. Object 2, that's A. Breathe in and out. Object 3, that's A. Breathe in and out. And you can do this 3x3 again, like you can do another circuit. But what that does is just realize things aren't bad. I'm trapped in the future or stuck in the past. Bring yourself back into the moment. So this was less than a minute basically, but just a few seconds just to, this is like a literally 20-second thing.
Nice. I was so scared you were going to ask us to stand up because I'm wearing like trackies.
Oh no, none of that.
Acknowledge your room, and I was like, oh crap.
No, that was really good. Thank you.
What was everyone's objects? I'm curious. Are we allowed to say?
Byron's must have been.
Mine was phone, glasses, guitar.
Oh, sick.
Mine was the light switch, this tape that I have, and then my orchid plant.
I got a plant too. Mine with my aloe vera, my aloe vera.
Mine was my
Nice.
my beard conditioner. Right there.
Very
It's a very
important.
strong beard, to be fair.
Exactly.
Bearded champions.
And then some of that Dio for the BO.
Love that. Nice. Thank you guys. I think that was a good, nice way to end. And hopefully when people listen to this, they'll do the same. Is it called the 3x3?
3x3. It's on YouTube as well. The guy did it on did a TED talk about this as well.
Mm.
Cool. Well, thank you guys so
Amazing.
much. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I think we've got some good. I really enjoyed today. That was really fun.
Yeah, this
And
is
I
super
love talking about
insightful.
stuff like this.
Reunited. Yes,
I know. It's been too long as well.
Yeah.